Yes.
Very good. So now I will just launch the presentation. Okay, you should see it full screen. First of all, thanks a lot for inviting me here to this peer learning workshop. It's something that I really appreciate how ESPON is trying to engage with people that are actually dealing with territorial development in the practice, so that the knowledge that we produce in the research just do not lie follow, but may be uptaken by actors that are actually dirtying their hand with territorial development issues. So I really like to be here, and I really hope that what we will present and discuss concerning ESPON Super will help your future work. And in this concern, I follow up David's presentation by presenting you what another part of the work that we did in Super. In Super, we did not only analyze the state of art and the future scenarios for urbanization in Europe, but we also try to find out why this happens. So why land is urbanized and how basically stakeholders at the different level try to steer urbanization and to make it more sustainable. And in that concern, we analyzed quite a high number of practices that are used throughout Europe to steer and manage urbanization and land use towards a more sustainable scenario. And on the basis of that, we produced what we call the handbook, or better, guide, and is our super guide to sustainable urbanization and land use. And this is what I will present to you today. So just briefly introducing that, you can find the guide at the link that you see there, which is the ESPON page link for the super project. You can see the cover on the right. This is our super guide to sustainable urbanization and land use practices in Europe. And this guide is aimed at providing support to policymakers and decision makers that are active at the various territorial level, so local and regional, national, but also European Union level, because we do believe that to promote more sustainable urbanization in land use is a very complex issue that requires joint effort from policy and decision makers at all territorial level. And it is not just a one-dimensional issue. It means to address all dimensions of sustainability and sustainable urbanization at the same time. So it's not only about ecological sustainability, but it also has a strong social and economic dimension, and also an institutional dimension that means that the interventions that are promoted need to be institutionally sustainable and temporally sustainable through time. So how to promote sustainable urbanization? Well, we try to understand that by looking for example. We collected evidence through various initiatives throughout the super project, throughout these 18 months of work, of research that we did. And we collected 235 interventions all around Europe, plus 59, we explored 59 policies at the European Union level by producing fact sheet concerning them. And then we went a bit more into depth, into details through 11 in-depth case studies. And those interventions, as you can see from the map on the right, they are located almost everywhere around Europe. We have examples from all the countries, and we have examples from many different types of intervention concerning, meaning aiming at different direction. For instance, those aiming at desertification or containment or regeneration, those more focusing on governance, those belonging to the realm of sectoral policies and so on. But then we also looked for different types of instruments. So we explored strategies, we explored the programs, but we also explored laws, legal devices, zoning and land use regulation, or standalone projects. So we try to have the broadest panoramic view possible in order to figure out what is going on in Europe in order to promote a more sustainable use of land. So how do a successful intervention look like? Well, I can make you a couple of example learning from our case studies, and of course we will discuss more of this later on. One good example is that we found is what is going on in Italy, and especially in the Emilia-Romagna region, through this intermunicipal planning activity that they perform. So basically, municipalities joining forcing in making their local regulatory plan, we can call it, although it has a different name, they try to reduce the competitiveness among themselves for the attraction of investment towards a more cooperative framework that make them more competitive towards the outside world, but not competing within this intercommunal organization, and therefore finding the best location for investment without extremizing urbanization and land use. So this is a very local practice that we found very interesting. Then another examples come from Switzerland, and this is the revision of the planning law of Switzerland and this application in the canton Aargau. So basically, in order to reduce the incremental use of land that was going on in the country since the 60s, little by little, there was the idea to promote a change of the law that would allow to de-zone pieces of land that were zoned for development. This was somehow opposed in the beginning, and then through a continuous interaction with the population, and finally with the approval through a referendum that was approved by 63% of the votes, basically the law was revised in a way that municipalities were basically pushed to de-zone part of their zoned land, hence reducing the opportunity for developing land and therefore making, somehow locking down some area from development. So what do we do in our guide? Well, we collected all these practices that I showed before, and on the basis of them, we identified a number of drivers of sustainable urbanization and land use, and we built them in a sort of toolbox, toolbox of instruments for sustainable urbanization. So when we come to the different type of instruments, for each type, we identify a number of success factors that, when taken into account, may lead to instruments practices to be successful in the promotion of more sustainable urbanization and land use. Like, for instance, when we talk about rules and legal device, they need to have clear objectives and mechanism of implementation that are coherent with the instrument that will be used. They have to have clear objectives, for instance, limit land consumption, protect valuable natural areas, and so on and so forth. And they need to be clearly in their normative sense. So they need to be normatively strict and binding in order to be effective. When it comes, on the other hand, to vision and strategies, what is crucial here is that there is a strong political will behind. It is also important that they are effective in making this political will multi-level, therefore engaging with the vision and strategies actors at the different territorial level. Besides that, every vision, in order to be successful, needs to be backed up by technical capability for making it implementable, and also with the financial incentives that allows for the intervention that it foresees to be actually put in practice. Then we did the same for all the type of instrument that we analyzed, like for instance with programs, with projects and so on. But I will not get too much longer with that, because I think that will be more important to hear what you have to say and what is your experience in your practices. So I will just leave you with, again, the picture of our guide and the link. And our question to us is, if you think that something like this guide may be useful in your daily practices, and we suggest you to have a look and tell us what you think, either today or in the future, for email and so on and so forth. With that's all from my side, I think. I thank you very much for the attention, and I'm looking forward now to hear what you have to tell us